notion of nature and our relation to nature had to change, the social relations had to change, daily life changed, and I will add one thing I didn't mention in that later on, the administrative institutional structure also has to change. Now it's very interesting when you look at social theories, and also actually if you look at political practices. There is a tendency always to say only one of these actually really matters, like Isuzaki did. If you look at the autonomistas, what are they saying? They're saying what goes on in the labor process is all that matters. Everything else is secondary. If you look at the technological determinists, they say it's the technology that really matters, everything else is determined. There are the social relations determinists. There are even environmental determinists around right now. But my argument would be that if you wanted to approach this from a Marxian direction, you'd say all of those elements have to co-evolve together. And if you ask the question, where does the struggle have to be fought? It has to be fought in all of those fields simultaneously. Now that doesn't mean we have to be in all of the fields, but we have to be in alliance with other people who are working in those fields. That is, in alliance with those who are taking the environmental angle, even though they sometimes say the environmental angle is the only one that matters. My answer is no, but it is a very important aspect of any question. The same is true of social relations. The same is true of the organization of production or of labor processes. In other words, political struggle can start on any one of those moments, as I call them. It can start with social relations, or it can start with environment, it can start with production, it can start in the labor process. But if it's a movement, it cannot stay there. The only way in which you really get radical change in the long run, the only way in which we're going to give birth to a new kind of society out of capitalism is exactly the same way that capitalism came out of feudalism, which is by a co-evolution of all of those elements over a long period of time. And we have to think about how that co-evolution is going to be organized. Now this doesn't mean to anybody working in a social movement that you don't work there anymore. In fact, you should stay there and work on it the way you do, because that is what you know about, that is what you're best at, you understand the tactics. But you have to think about it in relation to other possibilities. And it is only when those other possibilities start to come into the picture and things start to change. Like here today, I've heard several of the elements I've mentioned occasionally cropping up. The institutional reform which is required, the decommodification of the electoral process. Good luck. I hope you can get money out of elections. That would be fantastic. But boy, is that going to take a long time to make that happen. So, and we just cannot have wish lists. So we have to think about the way all of these elements work together. And so to me, it seems to me crucial to do so. One final point. The way in which these elements hang together looks very different if you're in Kenya, or if you're in Indonesia, or if you are in the United States, or if you are in Sweden. In other words, you have geographical uneven development of these configurations. And that actually gives us the possibility for movement and for hope. Precisely because we do not live in a world which is geographically homogeneous. And I think one of the serious errors of past communist attempts and so on was to try to make that geographical diversity homogeneous. I actually, being a geographer, love geographical diversity. We should have more geographical diversity, not less. We should protect that geographical diversity we already have, and we should use it as a powerful weapon. And actually, of course, what you see is that capitalism uses uneven geographical development as one of its crucial weapons of survival. And we have to be prepared to look at the way in which those elements are configured in particular spaces in the world, and then bring them together in that particular space, and then ask the question, what is the relationship between what's going on in this space and what's going on in that space? And I know that there are many people here who don't like us academics talking academic stuff. But frankly, that is what I can say, and that is what I can tell you. In a sense, I belong to a social movement, and it's called education. And I think it is terribly, terribly important. And if people could change the way in which they see the world, and they can change the way in which they position themselves in terms of what my struggle is about, which is vital, and how it relates to all of the others, then I think maybe we will have a better kind of global social movement, which I think is absolutely crucial at this particular moment in history. So, thank you very much.